Isn't it wild, all of the measures that we've taken to avoid feeling things? I'm going to focus on myself in this video more so because I came to a very interesting realization yesterday, I think it was, and it was all about loneliness and allowing myself to feel loneliness rather than to avoid it, right? I'm a human. I go through stuff. Sometimes I'm alone and sometimes I feel lonely, right? But the main theme of this video is about avoidance and its opposite, right? And so, yeah, throughout my entire life, I have felt lonely, but it's interesting because my life has gotten drastically better than it ever was before in the past. But it's also fascinating because there's like an element of loneliness that is becoming more emphasized, right? And so, yesterday, I was really feeling it. I was really feeling lonely. I was feeling, all the things that come with it and everything. And I was thinking to myself, I was, kind of caught up in the autopilot repetition compulsion belief of I need to get rid of this loneliness, right? And then something interesting happened. And that's when I decided to, instead of try to get rid of the loneliness, I decided to go into it, right? And I mean, that action in and of itself was really just surface level because there's an entire fucking there's like the image where there's like an iceberg and then like it shows you what's on top and it shows you what's down below, right? I'm only at the top level surface part of it, right? I have layers and layers and layers and layers of deep diving to do. Um but it's just fascinating to me because like you can avoid feeling things all that you want to. That's not going to make anything go away though. Um and so instead of continuing to avoid it and continuing to try to get rid of it, I decided to go into it. I decided to be like, all right, loneliness, you're here for a reason. It's not for no reason that I'm feeling you, that I'm experiencing you. What are you? It's kind of like taking it and being like, huh, that's fucking crazy. Bit of blood red hue to that. There's some nasty. I don't even know what that is. Just looking at it, just observing it, right? We Again, I'll focus on myself. Um, Throughout my life, I have tended to a pattern where I try to, and it is a defense mechanism against pain. Um, I've tended to do things to try to avoid, right? Covering things up with food, covering things up with pleasure, entertainment, whatever it is, right? And this is not good or bad or right or wrong, but if something is present, if an emotion is present, and you try to get rid of it, you try to distract yourself from it, you try to avoid it, it's not going to go away, right? I think that we have this belief. I mean, I used to have this belief, and I still somewhat have recently. I mean, not. I wouldn't say that I have recently. It's kind of like died out over the past like year or 2 years. Um, you can run away. You can fill your system with whatever. You can distract yourself. You can avoid, but it's going to remain there until you do something with it. And what I've learned is that the most productive thing is to go into it, right? If you have a wound and it doesn't go away, if you haven't looked at it, it's a good idea to look at it. It's a healthy choice to look at it, right? Then you can understand why it's actually there, right? And so there have also been times where I'll dive a little bit into FOMO, fear of missing out, right? I've experienced that, and I'm aware that a lot of other people have experienced that as well, right? Um, what do I feel in the experience of FOMO? Well, it's an interesting dynamic because I think a majority of the time I feel like I'm a loser. And I think that there is an emotion that comes with what it means to feel like you're a loser. I don't know exactly what the emotion is. I mean, I don't even know if like people say like I feel like a loser. Okay, so there's an emotion there. We'll just identify it or label it as loser, right? Now, if you do things to try to get away from feeling like a loser, other than going into the experience, the emotional experience of feeling like a loser, right? You're going to just find this thing popping up over and over. And by the way, let me just make this very clear. Words don't exist. I mean, yeah, we use them to communicate and stuff, but we created them. They're just fucking it's just noise, right? And so when I used to get, caught up on the things that people used to call me and everything, I used to get so sucked into, oh, I'm such a loser, I'm such an idiot, I'm, this, that, and the other, things that I've been called, pussy, dumb, whatever, right? Um, it's just noise. Yes, we create meaning around it, and we associate meaning based on the social element of it, the culture, right, and all that stuff, how society views it and everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, when you go deep enough into anything, you realize, I think at least, based on what I'm in this moment starting to realize, it's just meaning, right? Like, everything that we feel is trying to communicate something to us. I wholeheartedly believe that. I really do. And I think that it's important to listen. I think it's important to dive into the wound, right? Maybe loneliness is a wound, right? Let's be vulnerable, right? Vulnerability is a person's ability to go into the wound, right? Let's able ourselves to go into the wound and to see what's there, rather than, being like, oh, loneliness, I don't like you, I don't want to deal with you, let's turn up the fucking radio. Again, stuff doesn't go away because you avoid it. Stuff doesn't go away because you utilize coping mechanisms to try to get rid of them. I mean, it might be temporary relief, but that stuff's going to pop up again somewhere at some point, and that's just the reality of it. And so, really allowing yourself to understand that the more you able yourself to go into whatever is there, rather than try to avoid it, rather than try to distract yourself from it, it's a massive potential for a win. It really is. Um, I got a comment on a past video, basically asking for a solution. Because I guess I'm not sure I made it really clear in the video what it was you were supposed to do with what I was talking about. But to make it very clear in this video, if you feel anything at all whatsoever, anger, sadness, frustration, pain, loneliness, you feel like you're a loser, you feel like there's anything there, right? If anything pops up and you'd prefer to just turn on the radio and to avoid it and to distract yourself from it, um, I'm communicating clearly now that, based on what I've learned and what I've experienced, the most healthy and productive thing you can do is able yourself to go into it. Whatever emotion is present, just go into it, right? And if you can't do it in the moment because you have to deal with something else, then, come back to it and set a timer and, go into it for 5 or 10 minutes, however long you need to. But that's really what it's all about, like, I understand, I've been here long enough to understand that emotions can be challenging to deal with, and you may have learned through your upbringing that emotions are not to be dealt with. It's just not healthy. Um, the more you distract yourself from whatever you're feeling, the more you avoid it, the unhealthier the situation gets, and that's just the reality. So when loneliness pops up, if that is the case for you, go into it. It's just an emotion. And when you bring awareness to that and you really dive deep into it and you understand it, you begin to dissolve whatever's there. You begin to liberate yourself from that energy. And oftentimes it is actually stagnated energy. I said energy weird. oftentimes it is actually stagnated energy that is blocking your path in life.